Yo, what's up, people? I'm your host, JWil, and I would like to welcome you to Inspire God's People, where we balance faith and business to guide you to your purpose. Hopefully, everybody's feeling good tonight, man. I just wanted to come and kick it a little bit about this idea of being great at versus great with. You know what I'm saying? And these are pretty much leadership principles. And we're going to talk about a book that I've read that I really like to suggest as it relates to being a great leader. Like so many times, right? People want to be great leaders, and people think that just because they are great, that means they're a great leader. I think a lot of us see that in the workplace, and other areas in life. So hopefully you could grab something from this today. And the goal is for you to ask yourself, like, am I great at I can talk, or am I great with? You know what I'm saying? And there are some key differences that we're going to take a look at that you need to make sure that you have, you know what I'm saying, taken care of before you move forward in life. Great at versus great with. Let's jump right into it, right? All right. So, how we gonna do this? Let's see, man. All right. So first, let's take a look at um this, this whole idea right here of like, you know, what is great at, right? A lot of times they look the same. So great at, it could mean you're a top performer, that you're talented, good looking. You feel what I'm saying? You have the it factor, above average, you a hard worker, you educated, you confident, all those type of things. So when you think about being like great at something, these are some of the type of things that you look at and you think about. And a lot of times, right, like we walking around life and we feeling like, yo, I'm that deal. And let's just be real. Can we be real? Like, can I kick it with y'all on a real level? Like, so many times, like, it's a lot of people walking around and you can't figure out, like, why am I not getting the job promotion? Why am I not being chosen? Why everybody ain't following after me? Because I look like this or I got that. And a lot of times it's because you don't realize that great at looks a whole lot like great with, but there's a difference. So, educated, confident, right? You're great at. But in red, you see the differences. So everything in black is like whether you're great at something or you're great with, like it's like it's the same thing, right? But let's look at the things in red. Selfish. Talking about people who are great at, but they're not great with. They don't care who is stepped on so that they could become great. That's a huge problem if you don't care, who you're gonna like step on so that you can get where you're going, and they only celebrate themselves, right? Now, look, if you this person that is great at, like, you got all the skills, you got all the capabilities, but the issue is you have convinced yourself that in order for you to move forward in life, you gotta, step on everybody else, right? And mislead and mistreat everyone else. And I get it. Like, sometimes depending on where you starting at in life, like you so hungry for success, you want to move forward so bad that you like, man, like I'm rock bottom, I don't care about nobody else. But the problem with that is what you ultimately end up doing is limiting yourself. So if you're the type of person that is mistreating people and misusing and abusing people to move ahead, like one of the, how can I say, one of the most misleading factors um, is that people who are great at actually have success. And success in and of itself could be misleading sometimes because success can be so temporary. You feel what I'm saying? So people who are great at sometimes experience high levels of success. So they feel like, yeah, like it ain't me, it's you, right? But that success is often not sustainable, whether it be like actual tangible success or like, you know what I'm saying? If it's a situation where just mentally they're up and down, they don't feel good all the time about their success. And a lot of times it's because of how your success came. Lavelle, what up, man? What you talking about? I'm great with because I have disciples. And I am definitely not your disciple, sir. Thank God for that. Thank God that I'm not your disciple. So let's jump back into this idea of, great with versus great at. So let's look at it. Now, when you think about great with, here are some like major differences when you think about great with. Being great with means you have the ability to adapt. You, Lavelle, you might be a prophet, want to create disciples. Um, and you also celebrate others, right? And these things may sound like kind of simple or whatever, but they really aren't. They really aren't that simple. They are like major differences when you think about, like, okay, you're great at, but you can't adapt to a team environment. You don't know how to make anyone else better. Like, I often tell people, like, and this just, let's like kick it through some real life. I like real life examples about this stuff, right? So whenever I see a person, like, let's say you know a person that has, like, what's something that we all think represents success. Let's go with a Range Rover, right? Range Rover is a beautiful truck. So let's say you meet this person, they got a Range Rover, they got, seem to have money, like they seem to be doing good, but you ask them, like, how'd you get that, or what'd you do, or whatever. Like, they don't know how to transfer their knowledge from themselves to you, and there could be multiple reasons for that. But a leader is someone who's great with, and this is like, this whole, like, whatever you want to call this conversation tonight, is for people who are leaders. Like, if you're not trying to be a leader, like, I'm gonna just be real with you, like, being great at it might be good enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're not doing anything that causes you to partner with other people, and this also relates to relationships, and I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole of like talking to um you know the single or married people out there, right? But a lot of times we struggle in our relationships because we're great at. And when you're great at, you're thinking like, yo, I'm dope. Like, ain't what you mean? Like, look good, make money. Like, what you mean? You don't, like, no. But the problem is, some of us only know how to be great at, meaning we only know how to be great by ourselves. To be great with is the ability to transfer your greatness to a team environment. It also means that you're not only able to be great, that you're also able to make other people great. Quentin Shines Jr. reminds me of a good sports player. Listen, we about to talk about that, bruh. Y'all be on it. That's one of the next slides. We're gonna talk about a sports player. But what I want you to think about as it relates to any relationships that you have in life, again, whether it be work, whether it be marriage, whether it be friendship, whatever, like, you being great all by yourself doesn't change the world. You know what I'm saying? And again, like, kudos to you if you came for nothing from nothing, or you got these accomplishments that you're experiencing by yourself. And I get it. Like, I'm not here to debate, because I could hear it in my head, like, certain things that people say is like, you got to be whole by yourself and all this. Look, I'm not debating none of that. But all I'm saying is that if you go the rest of your life being great at and never find a way to be great with, you're limiting your own greatness. See, great at is a limited form of greatness. And I'm gonna tell you why. Let's keep it moving. Let's jump into another slide, right? So we got doers and teachers. So this, to Quentin, you mentioned sports. So let's talk a little bit about sports. The example I have right here is Ty Lue, right? So Ty Lue is the person in this picture that's being stepped over. You feel me? Like, so Ty Lue's being stepped over by Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson is one of the greatest basketball players ever, who never won a championship, right? And this is actually them. I want you to think about this. This is actually Ty Lue and Iverson in the finals, going against each other for the championship. Now, Ty Lue was nowhere near, like, let me talk to y'all. Like Ty Lue was nowhere near the player that Allen Iverson is, or was, or ever was going to come close to being, right? So what happens is, you have somebody like Iverson who's great at, but Ty Lue was a role player, right? And he was great at his role, right? Not as great individually as Iverson, but I want y'all to follow me on something. Most people would rather be Allen Iverson. But here's the problem with that. If you Allen Iverson, then, and there's no shade at Iverson, like none at all. That's not what the intent is. It was just the example that I found or thought about. If you Allen Iverson, you are a great player, but at some point you got to retire. See, at some point, your individual greatness is going to run out. You get what I'm saying? We get older in life, we die, like you're not going to be the young spring chicken all the time. So what happens is if you are only great at, if your greatness is all about you and it start and stop with you, then what happens is what happens, Allen Iverson, to your greatness once you retire? How do you express that greatness, right? Because if your greatness was only about you being a basketball player, then when you retire, you don't like you're it's a dead end. And think about when basketball players retire, they retire in their 30s, 35, 33, 36, like on average. That's very young. You know what I'm saying? You're still young. But I want you to think about now when you look at Ty Lue. So Ty Lue, his team won the championship against Iverson in the finals. He had Kobe and Shaq, right? It wasn't because of his individual greatness versus Iverson's, but Iverson is a doer. Okay. That means you have people like I see these type of people all the time in the workplace. They are doers. They have the ability to be great and to do great, to work hard. I call them worker bees. Like there are worker bees all the time, all around me, where like they work hard, um, and they know how to do their work, but they can't teach you. They don't know how to train anyone else. They don't know how to transfer that greatness to anyone else. So what ends up happening is like, yeah, you a worker bee, you a doer. That's cool. It's good to be a doer, but if that's all you are, is start and stop with you. But I want y'all to think about this idea of being a teacher, okay? And when you're thinking about Ty Lue and him being a teacher, Ty Lue was able to extend his greatness and not even just extend, y'all. Y'all got to rock with me on this. He didn't just extend his greatness, right? He expanded his greatness. So Ty Lue, after he retired as a basketball player, because he's a teacher, because he is someone who is able to adapt. Allen Iverson wasn't able to adapt. So after retirement, ESPN wanted him to put on a suit. He don't want to put on a suit. That's why you don't see Allen Iverson on TV shows talking about sports, because he's not willing to adapt. And I get it. Listen, y'all, I feel it. I hear y'all. Like, he keeping it real. He thorough. He authentic. All of those things might sound good, but you are limiting yourself when you are not able to adapt, expand, extend, or grow, right? What happens is you have to be the person that's always talking about what you used to be. And I'm gonna tell y'all, look, hey man, I used to have an afro. I used to, dunk a basketball. I used to do a lot of great things, but I always tell people like anything that I've done is not going to be the greatest thing that I'll ever do, or the greatest thing anyone I've ever been is not going to be the greatest person I'll ever be, because there's still so much more that God has in me as I learn new talents and skill sets, and as I become a teacher and a guide and learn how to give my any information or experience to others. So Ty Lue, right? You rocking with me? Ty Lue was able to be greater as a coach. Like, because think about this. This was crazy, right? As a coach, Ty Lue is one of the best coaches in the NBA. But as a player, he was a role player getting stepped over by a great player. What does this mean? This means that over time, because Ty Lue is a teacher and not just a doer, he was able to learn. Think about how crazy this is when you're great with, not just great at. When you are great with, you bring greatness out of other people. So what ends up happening is you have an elevated level of greatness because you are able to give greatness to other people in that team environment. Now, when you got multiple people being great at the same level of you, then now y'all go further than a person that's great just by themselves. All right. You don't believe me? Look at this picture as Ty Lue is holding an NBA championship with LeBron James next to him. Now, LeBron James is one of the greatest basketball players ever, right? But Ty Lue challenged LeBron James. Ty Lue coached LeBron James. It is because of a person like a Ty Lue that LeBron James is even able to reach the level of greatness that he was able to, because Ty Lue is able to expand and extend and adapt. All right, you feel what I'm saying? So before I move forward, I just want you thinking about this for yourself. It's like, am I just dope? Am I just great? Am I just cute? Do I just dress nice? Like, and a lot of times you think about relationships. I'm not a person that really like to talk about relationships a lot. I really don't. But when I think about a topic like this in relation to relationships, it's like in relation to relationships. Let's just see how many times we can say the word relation. When I think about this though, and again, like social media, like there's so many, like I tell y'all all the time, y'all all look good. Everybody look good. You fine, you're beautiful. Like I get it. You look great. But I think what happens sometimes is that the society today will kind of misinform us and make us think that we should just be trying to be great at. Right. So everything is about me. Like I tell people, like, I know, like, we live in this world, it's like self-love, self-care. Like I tell people all the time, like, don't let self-love make you a lover of yourself. And I mean lover of themselves in the sense of the biblical sense in Timothy, where it says in the last days, men will become lovers of themselves. Right. So much of our focus is us that we like, yeah, you great, but you ain't gonna never win a championship by yourself. You great, but you're not going to ever be able to be in a marriage or any partnership, a business partnership by yourself, because your whole focus is you. And the entire idea of entering those type of relationships is to, like, pull yourself back and figure out, how do I adapt and work with someone else? How do I allow my greatness to expand, but also make someone else great? Are you making anybody else great? Quentin says, what you just said also reminded me of how the body of Christ is supposed to operate. We are to build each other up, not tear each other down, nor leave others in the dark. I completely agree, Quentin. Like, and that's why I say, a person who, if we go back, a person who's great with, they want to create disciples. They want to celebrate others. You get what I'm saying? And that's how we should be. We should want other people to be not just as great as we are. We should want other people to be better than us. And what ends up happening, y'all, I want y'all to really like think about this. What ends up happening in this scenario is that the person that's great with is still great. You don't have to lose any of your greatness in order to be great with someone else. And I think that is one of the misconceptions out there of why people elevate themselves, because they feel like it's not enough room in the world for multiple people to be great. But that's not the case, yo. Like, we can all be great. Multiple people can be great. It is definitely possible. Please believe me. Now, I want to go and check this out. All right, so this is something I want to share. There's this book called Multipliers by Liz Wiseman. This is a book that I read maybe 2 to 3 years ago. I think anybody who wants to be a leader, or who thinks, like, I tell people sometimes, like, you think you're a leader. And what ends up happening is sometimes we think we a leader and we not really the leader that we thought we were. So Liz Wiseman, she points out these, these two different types of managers. You know what I'm saying? And if you are a leader, you are definitely one of these two people. So let's look at the first one, a diminisher. A diminisher is a leader who squashes innovation and talent by doing all the thinking themselves. They have to put their mark on everything. All right, I want y'all to really, really think about this. Like, a diminisher is somebody who squashes innovation and talent. And the reason that is, like, they're squashing the innovation and talent because they remember, if you are great at, then you think you're the only one that's great. You don't know how to work with nobody else. You don't know how to, be a part of a bigger team. You want everything to go with you. And this is a misconception in leadership. So many leaders get this wrong because they think, oh, I'm the leader, beat your chest. Like, do what I say do. But what ends up happening is, as a leader, you have individuals who are more talented than you. You have people, and you're supposed to unlock their genius. And by unlocking their genius, just like a Ty Lue unlocks the genius of a LeBron James or a Kyrie Irving and brings them to a championship, like Ty Lue gets a championship ring too. So if you're a leader, don't be intimidated by the people who are following you. Understand that by allowing them to be great, you also expand, extend, and elevate your own level of greatness. And this is again, these are things that people don't think about when they're being authoritarian and like they just is my way or the highway type of leadership. And I think, unfortunately, if we being honest, one of the places I see this the most is church. I see this a lot in church, and I no disrespect to leaders out there, but I think even if you are a pastor or any type of leader, you probably should check out this book, Multipliers, so that you can start understanding leadership maybe from a business perspective and not just from misrepresenting the biblical perspective. Because I think what happens a lot of times for leaders is that they read the Bible, and then they, let's say, I'm gonna give an example. You read the Bible and you read about something with a king in the Old Testament, right? And then you start like literally applying that to yourself, and you want people to follow you like that. And it's like, hey, bro, like, hey, he was a king. He had an actual kingdom. You know what I'm saying? Like, you live around the corner from me. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like what I'm saying is that I think sometimes we have to try to like understand the basic principles of leadership so that we could properly apply them in the Bible versus like trying to read certain things in the Bible that don't necessarily apply to you the way that you want them to, and then you end up bending and twisting the word so that people could just do what you want them to do, and that's a form of manipulation. And one of the things that a multiplier understands is that leadership is not about controlling you. Leadership is not about manipulating you and making you do things just because I think you should do them. And again, I think a lot of times we get misconceptions because we don't know necessarily how to critically think, and we maybe haven't actually learned the general principles of leadership before we start applying them. You get what I'm saying? All right, so let's talk about this. A diminisher, a leader who drains intelligence, energy, and capability from the people around them. Now, look, I know nobody actually wants to be a diminisher, and also nobody actually thinks they are a diminisher. Like I know that for a fact. Nobody actually thinks they're a diminisher. Everybody thinks like I'm the greatest leader ever, and it's gonna be real hard to grow if you can't ever get to the point where you are real with yourself. Now, here's the other crazy thing about a diminisher. They get less than 50% of their team's intelligence. You feel what I'm saying? So that means that, you know, if I got Albert Einstein on my team and I'm a diminisher, that means I only get him at 50% capacity because Albert Einstein can't fully be himself and operate at his full capacity if I'm a leader that's diminishing the greatness and the ability of the people who follow me. You get what I'm saying? Now, let's talk about a multiplier, because this is what I believe it represents the greatest type of leader. I actually think this represents a biblical leader as well. Now you talk about the capacity that they're getting and the productivity. A multiplier is getting 2 times the level of intelligence from their team. That means that no matter how smart you are, if you are under the leadership of a multiplier, they are able to take less and make more. So they're getting 200% of your full capability, right? It's almost like they creating another you. That's what multipliers do. When you have a leader that multiplies and pull the genius out of someone, that leader allows that person to be the best version of them, and not just be the best version of them, but be a better version of themselves. And to me, that is what true leadership is all about. That is what true leadership should be about. But remember, in order to be great with, you have to celebrate others. See, a real leader actually wants to see other people do well. And one of the diminishing traits that I've always seen is people who do not want those following them to exceed their level of greatness. So they will keep you lower than them to make themselves feel important. I have a mentor, and I was kicking it with one of my mentors who's an executive. And I remember he was telling me that he had another mentee, and he was like, it was so funny because that mentee ended up being a higher level executive than he was. But that mentee, when he, communicated with his mentor, still had the reverence, honor, and respect for that mentor and called him boss man. What is my point? When you are a great leader, you don't have to worry about trying to chase and be ahead of people, because no matter how far they go, they will respect and honor you if you were a multiplier. If you were a leader that was worthy of that, you will get that just due. And guess what? Their success only becomes a reflection of your success. They'll be giving you credit. You won't even be in a room, and they'll be crediting you for where they became and what they became. But then also, look, if you a true leader, that just elevates you when you're elevating other people. You feel what I'm saying? And I think, again, these are things, misconceptions that we have, where we think it's a competition when you're talking about leadership. It's not. So I want you to think about a multiplier. A multiplier is a leader who used their intelligence to amplify the smarts and capabilities of the people around them. Are you a multiplier? Are you a multiplier? You know what I'm saying? Do you take the people around you and make them better? You know what I mean? Can you say that you've created disciples, right? And taken somebody from 0 to 100. And that's what we do at Inspire Guys People. One of the best parts about doing this podcast for the last 3.5 years is that the testimonies that come in. I've literally had people across the world, in Sweden, France, like all these different places, that email and be like, yo, like, I before I was listening to this podcast, I didn't have the confidence to be a leader. I now see myself as an entrepreneur. I started a business. I'm speaking. I'm watching, like, the listeners, the people that I know that's listening to this podcast every week. I'm watching them actually take these steps in life. And I celebrate every single one of y'all that's out here doing it. And that's what we doing it for. I tell people all the time, my life is private. My strategy is public. And for the last 3.5 years, if you want to know anything that I've done or doing to grow and to continue to become better in my life, and I'm still getting there as well, all you got to do is go listen to Inspire Guys People, the podcast, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, anywhere on your smart TV. Just type in Inspire Guys People and go back and listen to episode 1. Actually, episode 118 and episode 83 are two of the best podcasts as it relates to self-development and somebody that's trying to find a purpose. That was just a little commercial break. But my point is, I get so hyped getting emails from everybody about this podcast, about things that we talk about or guests that we have on, because for me, the win is seeing other people win. In my last job, I just moved out of a role a couple of months ago, and I was leading a team nationally, a business development team, and I had business development representatives reporting to me from Florida. One was in Washington, D.C., another one was in Boston. And the crazy thing about it, man, was like, there were things, the greatest joys that I got from leading other people was promoting other people and being able to, like, I took people who were struggling in their career or at a hard part in their career. I'm not going to say struggling, might have been just at a tough spot in their career. And one of the first things that I did when I became the leader over that team was that I set up quarterly career development conversations, right? And I'm just giving y'all a tangible example when you talk about being a multiplier, because these things are just theories until you do them. Like, I'm a person that believes in experience. Don't just tell me what you're going to do, apply it and do it, right? And so first thing I did was I said, okay, well, my team, every quarter, we're going to have an hour call, one-on-one with just me and you, where we do nothing but talk about your career. We're going to plot out your goals. We're going to talk about your career plan, your history, what you like, what you don't like. And then I'm going to help you get there. And last year, 2 out of 3 people, I actually helped them get there. And for me, That was the biggest joy, being able to take some people and coach them, and not only coach them to be great in their existing role, but to move on beyond my team and to go be great in their own right. And the craziest thing about it that was so dope was that I had just promoted two people and guided them to a promotion, and then a new opportunity fell into my lap, a new role, back in March, right? But the timing of it was literally, I had just promoted them like the end of last year and in February slash beginning of March. What's my point? When you are a leader and you are focused on pulling other people forward, trust me, it does not have no opportunity but to, like, the only thing that's going to happen is you're going to be great too. And that's the first thing I told myself when I was leading the team. I said, I cannot compete with my team. And I put their pictures on any new business development wins that we have. I never put my picture on anything. I put their picture on it. Like, I elevated them because I felt that as a leader, in order for me to go forward, in order for my team to do well, I had to be willing to push someone before me. And the thing is this, y'all, when I was pushing them, I wasn't sure that I was going to get an opportunity, but that's what leadership is. We think leadership is about everybody doing what we say do, but leadership is about serving others. Leadership is a sacrifice. It is you saying that I'm going to put my own selfish agenda aside, and now I'm going to have a greater mission that is about pushing other people forward. And I'm telling you, if you could somehow turn yourself into a multiplier, not only are you going to multiply the people around you, but you're going to start seeing that multiplication is going to start happening in your own life. So what's some other things about a multiplier? Um, Team efforts increase, revenue increases, organizations thrive. This is a leader who grows intelligence by engaging it. They don't need the credit, and they don't need to be the smartest person in the room. Now, I want you to think about those two things. Like, what we talking about today, this is challenging if you ever going to become a great leader. The question is, A, do you need all the credit? If you need all the credit, I'm going to be real with you. You might be great at, but you're not going to be great with. Like, if you're a person that just needs all the credit, like, you don't want nobody else to have none. Imagine credit being like food, and you go to somebody's house on a holiday and you got to have all the food. Like, can't nobody else eat none, bro? Nobody. Like, you just gonna eat all the food, Roscoe. And so my point is, that's what ends up happening with a leader that needs to take credit. You're diminishing other people because you're taking credit from your team. But here's the problem, though. If you're a leader, your whole goal is for people to buy into your vision, to believe it, and to go out and do to execute the plan and strategy that you put in place. But here's I'm trying to give y'all the trick, the key. The key to it is that people work harder when they believe that your agenda and strategy benefits them. You feel what I'm saying? Nobody wants to go and carry out your mission if it's just your mission. If the end of the story says you're the king and you did well, and it's like, oh man, wait a minute. So I just still got to just go home to like nothing. Like, I'm just like, I have nothing. Like, but you're great. So people are never going to follow you until your strategy and vision relates to their broader success, development, and growth. As leaders, we should be developing plans and strategies that actually benefit other people. And then what ends up happening is we will be blessed because of that. I'm going to be real with y'all. I'm just being real today. And I mean this all respectfully. I've said in, 1,000 church services. And I remember this one church service in particular. I'm not going to say what it was or who the pastor or preacher was. Lavelle, if Lavelle's still watching, you was there with me. And we sat in this church service. And again, I'm saying this. Let me say this before I tell this story. I am pro-church. I'm a Christian. I am not a person that believes in, hey, let's just rebel against the church. I just want to see the church improve. That's my goal. I'm not criticizing the church to talk about the church or point the finger, right? When I introduce these type of concepts about leadership and things, it is actually for the development of the church. And I believe that because people don't talk about these things, that a lot of church leaders don't have information beyond just what they get from church. And again, the reason I love faith in business is because business principles, I believe, are biblical. I believe a lot of businesses actually execute biblical principles better than churches. I really do. I think that's why they're successful sometimes, is because they're actually operating in God's principles, whether they're giving him glory or not. All right, so now let me tell this story now that I've given my disclaimer, right? So I'm sitting in this church service and this pastor preaching, I mean, my man preaching for 2 hours, and he was a millionaire. I think the guy made his money through real estate, and he had did this whole like sermon about how he made his money by giving, right? He became a millionaire investor by giving. 100%, Quentin, sons of this world are more shrewd. Exactly. So my man did this whole sermon about how giving made him, wealthy. And then after an hour and a half, he got to the point, and this was like, I mean, this was probably 8 or 9 years ago, right? So this wasn't yesterday, this wasn't last year. So, and this wasn't nobody from Detroit. So y'all can know that, because I got a lot of friends and family and people out and preached at churches in Detroit. This person ain't from Detroit, right? So this ain't you. This ain't y'all. This ain't your church. Like, ain't none of that. So nobody had to feel that if you see this and you're from Detroit and you feel like I'm talking about somebody, because it's literally not. So this person went through this whole hour and a half, whatever, talking about how giving made him wealthy. And then he got to the end of the sermon and something interesting happened to me. He asked the people in the room for $1,000. And he said the reason that he was doing it is because he wanted them to be blessed the way that he was blessed. And I asked myself a question. See, I'm a person I believe in critical thinking. I do. I'm not just going to run with something just to run with it in a moment. I'm going to critically think through what's being said. And the logic of his approach was flawed to me. Here's why. Why did you change your principle today? You just gave me an hour and a half worth of stories where you went and you gave somebody $1,000, or you gave this and God blessed you for it. Why not keep that theme going? It wasn't nothing but 25 of us in that room. He said he was a millionaire. He was talking about all his wealth. Why not you give 25 people $1,000 so that you could show the whole message, prove the message that you just said was that God continues to bless you because you're a giver. Prove it to me by doing what you've been telling me you was doing for an hour and a half, and give me $1,000. Not asking 25 broke people for $1,000. Like, it did, like, for me, he lost me. And my point that I'm making is, listen, leadership is not about manipulation. Church is not about a magic trick. You don't have to like say something to psychologically trick somebody. No, man, be honest. If you wanted to preach a message to get $1,000 from everybody in the room at the end, your whole message should have supported that from the front end. Don't switch it on me in the back end. So what am I saying? We're talking about integrity in leadership as well. It's like, you don't have to trick people out of money. Like, people should give. The Bible says be a cheerful giver, right? We can teach people about giving, but the problem with a diminisher is they want to do everything themselves, okay? So a person that's great at, the difference between great at and great with that I want you to walk away with today is, great at is just simply you being great. It's you doing everything. But great with is the ability to transfer that greatness, to share that greatness with other people so that y'all can be greater together. Because your greatness, again, Allen Iverson, you might get so far and have to retire. But if you could plant seeds of greatness, you get what I'm saying? You plant seeds of greatness, and then you create more greatness. And then now you got a whole family of greatness. Like, my goal with Inspire God's People is to literally, again, my life is private. I don't come on here talking about all my personal business all the time, like how good or how bad I'm doing. Like, I'm human. I have good days. I have bad days. Look, I'm human. It doesn't matter. The point I'm making, though, but my strategies are public. So I'm always willing to share these strategies. And my goal with Inspire God's People is, I literally believe that if we like grow together in this way, I'll be able to look back years from now and other people will be great because of the content that I shared, because of the strategies that I made open and available to people. And again, we talk about maybe a little bit of personal stuff. You got to check out the podcast if you want to know that. like how deep we go into things. But we talk about faith and business just like today. Look, I appreciate you listening. Are you a diminisher or are you a multiplier? That's for you to find out. Check out Liz Wiseman's book, Multipliers. I read it. I think it's an amazing book for anybody who aspires to be a leader, anyone who is a leader. I for real, just hope that you could grab something from today. Hopefully, you wasn't offended if I stepped on your toes. The point isn't to hurt nobody or speak ill of anything. The whole purpose is to be honest so that we can grow together. And a lot of us are being held back and we don't know why, because nobody will be honest to us about why something is happening. And that's my goal with this podcast. That's what we're here to do. Look, man, y'all have an amazing night. Subscribe on YouTube and wherever else, Apple Podcasts. Leave some comments or reviews and all that good stuff as well. Don't just be a secret watcher. You know what I'm saying? Let me know you watching and hit us up. We drop new episodes every single week. Just dropped a new episode today called God Behind Bars, where I interviewed the director of innovation for God Behind Bars, Isaac Hope. And he talked about their prison ministry, some of the amazing things they've done. They just did a whole, like Maverick City's whole, I guess, upcoming album or whatever is, I don't mean whatever disrespectfully, just I can't remember, but they recorded an album in a prison and they did this with God Behind Bars. I know Kurt Franklin was involved with them. So check them out on Instagram at God Behind Bars or go to godbehindbars.com. But it's an amazing interview waiting on you to check out on the podcast that just released today. I believe that there's going to be something you can grab from that. The goal is always to self-develop and give people something that they can really grab onto. Look, I went through the whole pandemic. We never talked about race in a negative way. We never talked about politics negatively. And that was challenging because the whole world around me was talking about certain topics. The whole world around us sometimes is talking about gossip and what somebody wore or who did what and all these different things in Hollywood. We really talk about what people want us to talk about. But my goal is to press the envelope and talk about things that I actually think will make us better. Because at the end of the day, what I was saying during the pandemic was don't leave this pandemic empty-handed. And I believe some of us left the pandemic empty-handed. Like some of us went through these whole 2 years and don't have nothing to show for it but a couple of memes and dreams. And my whole point is that we want to have tangible success, tangible progress, tangible growth. We don't just want to talk about things. And sometimes that requires us to tune out the rest of the world and go down our own path. So Inspire God's People is for you. If you are a person that is ready to move forward in life, ready to find your purpose, ready to do what God called you to do, become who God called you to be and who he created you to be. And sometimes that's going to require us to say, look, I know y'all talking about all this other stuff, but I don't got time for it. And a lot of times that's how we operate on this show. So we don't just follow every trend in the world, or right now we're not talking about high gas prices and complaining about that. No, because we didn't leave the pandemic empty-handed. We talked about financial saving and goals during the pandemic. And we talked about the fact that you wasn't going to always be getting stimulus checks. So we saved a little money, and high gas prices don't bother us that much because we did the right thing the last 2 years. Now, if that's not you, no shade, but I'm just saying maybe you should listen to Inspire God's People, the podcast, and we can kind of work through some of those things versus just complaining about it. Because look, here's the reality. I remember when I had bad credit, and you turn on comedians, they laughing about bill collectors and bad credit. Family members laughing about bill collectors and bad credit. And I got to the point where I was like, yo, this ain't funny. I got to do something about this. And it wasn't until I decided to do something about it and make some changes that it's like, oh, yeah, we can laugh now, but I can't relate. Like, I can't relate in the present. So we talk about bad credit all we want. I'll laugh right with you. I'll be crying tears about bill collector skits and sketches and comedy. But I'm going to tell you right now, I don't got none. So the whole point I'm making is that we got to take ourselves out of these positions. Sometimes we laugh ourselves more into the struggle. Like, it's cool to laugh, but some stuff ain't funny. I can't spend all day on social media just laughing about stuff that I'm really living and it's messed up. Like, no, it's messed up to have bad credit. Let's change that. It's messed up not to have your purpose. Let's change that. It's messed up not to know who God is. Let's change that. It's messed up just to be following politics and people on TV and doing whatever they tell you to do and pushing any agenda they tell you to push without understanding the biblical implications and whatever God's word says about certain things. Like, no, let's change that. So we don't play a lot. We don't play with all this type of stuff. We gonna talk about it. We gonna grow, and we gonna laugh a little bit along the way. You know what I'm saying? I mean, stuff be funny, so we gonna laugh. Stuff be funny, and every now and then I talk in Ebonics. You know what I'm saying? I go in and out. We just weave it in and out. Thank you so much for listening tonight. Hopefully this bless you. Share this with somebody, man. Tell somebody about the show, the podcast, Inspire Guys People. It's available anywhere, man. I tell people all the time, you could just literally Google Inspire Guys People. And like, if you do that, then you will literally find this podcast. Look, man, y'all have an amazing night. All right.